Hello everyone, I'm Frank Obregon. Today we are going to talk about pivots. Before we are going to talk about pivots, we need to know what is pivot. Now imagine my hand as our foot. In our foot we have three parts: heels, metatarsals, and toes. To know the pivots, we need to know really those three parts. In the second part, there is our metatarsals, is where our pivot need to be. And exactly in this part, there is B in our foot, we need to find exactly the middle to make a point to have the position, the real position to make pivots. Sometimes we are doing pivots in different positions or in different positions, but we need to know where is that position. So now let's look down our feet. Now I'm doing a little pivot in one foot and in the other. We can do the pivot exactly in both at the same time or in one or the other. So let's try together. One step to the side, and then we can make one pivot in one foot or in our axis. Let's try the same movement but to the other side. There is one step to the side and we can do the pivot in one foot or in the other. And even can be in both at the same time. If we look pivot, we need to know also about our intention, or we need to know where our axis need to be. Come back to the hand. So we are exactly in our heels, now standing in axis between heels and metatarsals. So we are in those two parts, heels and metatarsals. And if you are standing between those 2 points, you are exactly in axis. So that means that your posture is completely straight. There is another posture between your metatarsals and toes. If you are between your metatarsals and toes, your posture is forward. So let's try to see in our body completely what is that posture. I will stand to the side. And I'm now between my heels and my metatarsals. I'm totally in axis. If I need to be forward, I need to go to my metatarsals and toes, between two parts, metatarsals and toes. So our intention will be forward. So let's try to come back between our heels and metatarsals. So we are in axis now. Let's try together going forward. Forward between metatarsals and toes. Axis between metatarsals and heels. Today is all about pivots. So to make the pivots, we need to be always forward. Come back to the hand. So it is forward, metatarsals and toes. Between those two parts. When we are doing the pivots, I said that is totally in the middle. So if we move our ankle to make this movement, you can see in my body completely that arm will be like raising. So let's try together to make the movement like up and down from our ankle. Let's try to push the floor, up and down, up and down. So let's try to stay up and stay up, and then go down. If you are losing balance with this movement, you can hold the wall, you can hold a chair, but don't hold your partner to don't fall. So let's try again. Let's try together. Go up and stay up. In this posture, you are going to find the middle on your metatarsals. Go down again. Let's go up, and now let's try looking my hands as my feet. Let's go to the little toe. This movement that I'm doing now can be outside, little toe, and also inside, big toe. If we are going outside or inside, we are going to be falling. But to know this, we need to try. If I'm going outside or if I'm going inside, I will feel that it's not so comfortable. So let's try up, stay up, and try to go to the little toes. So in this position, you are going to feel not so good. And now come back to the middle and go to the big toe. Also, it's like your feet and your legs are inside. So let's come back to the middle and stay up and find the middle of your metatarsals. Let's try down again. In this position is exactly where the pivot needs to be. So pivot always in one leg and the other leg, in both legs, can help us to find directions, to find another position, to prepare to do many other movements. Now we are going to talk about different ways to make pivots. We are going to make 3 ways and 1 bonus. First, 1 step forward and 1 pivot. But we are going to use only our chest. Let's try it. It is 1 step forward, left leg forward, and we just need to move our chest. If we move our chest slow, we are going to just make a dissociation. If we move our chest with a little bit more energy, we are going to make 1 pivot. So let's try. 1 step forward, 1 dissociation, come back the dissociation, and make the same dissociation but with more energy. Dissociation. And 1 pivot. Let's try again. 1 step forward, now it's right leg. 1 dissociation to the right. And 1 dissociation with more energy. And we are making 1 pivot. And now let's come back to the hand. Remember, I said heels, metatarsals, and toes. Our position needs to be between metatarsals and toes to have the possibility to do the pivot in a better way. So let's try again. 1 step forward. The first option is coming from your chest. Chest, dissociation, and dissociation with more energy on your chest. Chest. And we are making the pivot. With this first option, we are moving only our chest. So now let's try the second option. Second option will come from our leg, completely, one leg or the other leg. To do this pivot, we need to know 3 different positions. Forward, to the side, and backward. And the other side, let's try with the other leg. Let's try with me. 1 is forward, 2 is to the side, and 3 is backward. Now let's try with the other leg. But in this option, we are not going to stop in every part. We are going to pass 3 parts like 1 and 2. So let's try together. 1 to the side and backward. 2 forward to the side and backward. Let's try with the other leg. 1, 2, 3, and again. 1, 2, 3. We were doing the first option without energy and then with a little bit more energy. That means that we were using our chest without pivot and chest with more energy to make pivot. With our leg, it's the same. Less energy to move our leg and then more energy to make the pivot. And remember, my hand was my foot. So it's between metatarsals and toes. The leg that has our axis will be between metatarsals and toes. And the other leg will just caress the floor. So just caress the floor to make 1 and then 2. And now 1 without energy, and 2 with energy. And you are making the pivot. Now let's try with the other leg. 1, 2, and 3. Without energy, and 2 with energy. In this movement, we are moving our body and our point exactly in the middle with the energy. So the common detail here is with more energy we can make pivots. But there is also another option that we don't have energy. We just press the floor. This is the third option to make pivots. If we change our way, like from the beginning, we were doing this movement in our foot to make pivots. And also we could move our axis. And also we could move both at the same time. So that is the pivot in our feet. Let's try to do the movement now to the other side. One step to the side with me and make one pivot in both legs at the same time. Pivot, 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 and pivot. Always this pivot needs to be 180 degrees. That possibility for us is to make pivot in both directions. It's like changing the front from one point to the other point. Let's try together. We put our foot forward and we are in one front. And then very slow, you need to use the forward leg, pressing the floor to make a pivot on your axis. So that movement it is very slow to change your position completely from one point to the other point. And continue, 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 and continue till the end. And you are exactly in one point, changing the front, one point to the other. And then you can come back. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And your weight needs to be between your metatarsals and toes. And it's exactly this position that comes from your axis. The most difficult part in this option is to be forward, always on your axis. Always. So let's try together to make the pivot again. Pivot, pivot, and check your metatarsals and toes. Metatarsals and toes, always in your axis. So you are forward. And you come back, metatarsals and toes. Let's try the other leg. We are here, and you are going to see the movement now from my back. So it is pivot, 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 and you need to be always forward, always forward. Your axis is your left leg, so you are doing the pivot, pressing the floor and helping this position. Now we have 3 different ways to make pivots: chest, leg, and feet. And I said one more bonus, and that bonus is our hips. That we normally use our hips to emphasize one movement, to finish one movement that we are making. That can be those 3 options. If we use our hips to make pivots, we are going to have some problems. I will show you. If I'm changing my way in my left leg now, and I'm using just my hips to go to the left, I will move my arms to the opposite side, to the right, because I need to have like balance in my body. So this will happen. Let's try again. If I'm here and I move my hips to the opposite side, I will need to use my hand again to the opposite side. So the movement is this and this. Imagine if I'm with my partner and I'm moving just my hips. My partner will be affected with the movement that I'm making. So that is very important to know, that our hips is always to finish one pivot that we previous were doing. If we are moving our chest, if we are moving our legs, or if we are doing the pivot from our feet, our hips can help to emphasize a movement or to close a movement. And that movement can help also with the speed, But what is the most important with the hips is to know really what can happen in the movement. For example, if I'm moving my hips, at the end of the movement, the 8 forward will end stronger. Will stop exactly in one moment when I want. I will show you. Without hips, it is. With hips, hips. So you can see that moving the hips is almost at the end with the pivot. And without hips, the movement is another option. Also, the second option is from our legs. If I'm moving my leg in 3 points, and to make pivots, I can move my hips to finish the movement. Hips. Hips, and I'm finishing stronger. But if I don't move my hips, the movement will finish slowly. And again. And also, if I'm moving my feet, there's the third option, changing our way. Remember this movement. We can move our hips faster. Hips, hips. But if we are not moving our hips, the movement will be slower. The hips can help us to emphasize a movement, to make it stronger, to decide when we need to finish the movement. But remember, the hips is to help, to emphasize one movement, to help one pivot, but not to make one pivot. It's very important to know this difference, because in this way we can make pivots very slow, and we can also make pivots stronger because we want another energy on the movement. Both options are correct, but the hips always at the end, not from the beginning. But I will show you now some mistakes that we can be doing while we are doing the movements. The movement that we were doing from our chest, what happened if I'm not between my metatarsals and toes, but between my metatarsals and heels when I'm finishing the movement? And I will try. I'm now between my metatarsals and toes, but when I'm doing the pivot, I will be between my heels and metatarsals. I will affect my posture, I will be back, but if I collect this leg, I'm totally in axis. That's why I need this leg to stop, because I'm doing the movement, being backward, and I need to finish being forward. Again, one step forward, I'm forward, but when I'm finished the movement, I will be between my heels and metatarsals. That's why we can affect our partner, but not our posture, because we are exactly in axis. Another mistake can be from the left, the second option that we have. Remember, I was saying forward, to the side, and backward. But what happens if when I'm doing the movement, I'm using my chest to compensate my balance? If I'm doing the step to the side, and my leg is raising a little bit, this will happen naturally, because we are like a balance. When our leg is forward, also our chest can be compensated. And when our leg is backward, can be compensated. The mistake here is to don't compensate in any direction. If we are doing this movement, compensating, we are going to be affecting our posture, our balance, our partner, our life. Try to be stable, to be on your axis, and move your leg exactly 1, 2, and 3. Third mistake that we can be doing is exactly that I was showing you from our feet. Let's come back to the last option. So what's this movement? Pivot and pivot. Remember, always you need to be between your metatarsals and toes. But what happens if I'm changing back here? When I'm here in this position, I'm totally forward. But But if we are doing the pivot and in this moment we are changing to our heels, this can happen in our pivot. Now my pivot is on my heels, not in my metatarsus. That can be a mistake if we change the position of our axis to our heels and metatarsus. So in this position it's better to be always forward. As I told you, always forward. As you can see till now, from the beginning, we were talking about pivots and where to do the pivots. What happened if we do the pivot in one position or the other position? What happened if we move our hips? What happened if we have energy? If we don't have energy? If it's fast? If it's slow? So now it's time just to practice. The movement can be slow, can be faster, can be even slower, it can be very, very fast. It can be with long step, short step, but always the very important detail will be where the pivot needs to be. Remember, 3 parts on your feet: heels, metatarsus, and toes. Now, with this movement, you can do all pivots you want to do, with the energy that you want to do. So,